Hey up, Luke Doran here, drummer from Son of Boar, here to talk a little bit about our new release of the renewed version of Satanic Panic Revelations, which should be out very shortly. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the writing for the song and the tone of it and why we've added some extra bits in and built it up. For me personally, this song was a bit of a challenge to write the drums for. My previous bands have been more sort of the hard rock kind of punk thing, so they're quite active drums that filling in a lot of space and a lot of activity and busyness. This was the first song of ours really that was not only really slow and heavy, but the riff is quite minimalist as well. It's quite sparse. There's lots of open spaces in there, and I could have gone wild and done all sorts of wacky nonsense in there to fill out that space, but I had to resist that urge for this one and decided to really keep the drums really super minimal as well, and follow that riff but try and bring to it a sort of groove as well. A lot of our stuff, a lot of our songs have a great sort of groove to them, even though they're heavy and aggressive as well. We managed to maintain a groove and a swing to them. So on this one I tried to keep a bit of that as well, with some of the way that I've emphasized like the offbeat hits and stuff, and keeping everything nice and minimal and just following that sort of metronome type stance on the songs, taking it easy and just plodding along, making it kind of menacing and slow in that kind of way. And at the time I was sort of struggling with it when we were first working on it, and struggling to get into that headspace of keeping it really minimal and sort of dark sounding and stuff. And what I ended up taking inspiration from was, at the time I was really getting into a Paradise Lost song called Beneath a Broken Earth, and that's super minimal all the way through, and but has this great atmosphere of menace and power to it, and I wanted to try and imitate that in some ways. So I took some cues from that in the drums and how to emphasize the small changes and things like that are going on in the song, but without doing a massive fill or rolling down all the toms or getting crazy or anything like that. And I'm really happy with how it's worked out. Actually, it's great. I really enjoy playing it now because it's a bit different to what I normally do, and it's got like great atmosphere all the way through the track. So it's really great to play, and I really enjoy it now. I tried to use drum parts that would sort of follow and complement the energy and like feel of the song. As it goes along, there's a few different sections and strong like rhythmical hits that I can put in to follow the riff and let you know when it's changing from the verse to the chorus, and going from, we've got some bridges and stuff where there's some slight changes to the rhythm and the feel of the riff and how those things work, and just try to use my drums to emphasize those and to trigger some of those, to sort of signal some. And the song, in typical Son of Boar fashion, has this sort of slow, aggressive, miserable sound to it, but then also has like quite a more energetic, rocking, kind of groovy section in it as well. So it was great to try and combine those. Like, I always love the way that we do that, and the fact that we can do that kind of stuff in our songs. I really love doing that. So working from that sort of slow, plodding, menacing beat, and then going into a more like rock and rolly, catchy beat, and bringing that in and trying to get that energy going, was a great challenge, and I really enjoyed that, and I think it worked out really well on the song. We've always really enjoyed this song. We've always really liked it. It's been one of the band's sort of favourite songs for a while, but we thought it wasn't quite finished and that there was something missing for it, basically. So we've gone back and worked on it a bit more now, and added in a couple of extra sections that really have really brought out an extra little bit of flavour to it. So we're coming out of the sort of more rocking section now. It goes into an almost half-time section where we try and maintain that swing and keep things going, but with a different feel to it. And I really liked that when we started playing around with that in the practice room. I was immediately really happy about that. I really liked that sound and how that came about, and the way that we reused parts of the song that were already there but in a new way, brought them back and made them interesting again, and then how we then took those into the next section, going back into the outro that we had before. I love that little sequence and the way that it changes from the sort of rock and roll to the sort of heavier half-time sort of more metal-y bit, and then back into the outro chorus, and it really changes the mood of the end of the song and the way it feels and stuff, and I think it works out really well. In the end of the song there as well, there's also a bit where I changed the drums, where we do the chorus and then I sort of build up the intensity as the final outro goes along, and it goes into sort of half time on the drums while everything else stays the same, and I drive home the rhythm of the riff a bit more, really bringing out that big smashing on the ride cymbal and using it to crash and getting a big massive sound out of the cymbals, and I really like doing that, and I think it worked out really well for the song. So I love the sort of journey of the song and the way that it starts off so minimal and like slow and menacing, and you know, it's got that sort of swagger to it, and it goes through, and you've got the dark lyrics and the dark feel of the song, and then you've got a sort of bridge section where the guitars take turns in dropping out for parts and stuff and coming back in, and I love that little journey of that, and then dropping into that riff that Adam cranks out, and when the drums come in, and using that tom rhythm to sort of build up the energy before we go into the more sort of rocking, catchy, rock and rolly bit. I've always really liked that part of the song and the way that it changes the mood and the journey of the song goes through. It's one of the aspects of our writing that I really like, that we do that a lot in songs, where they go from one mood to another, or there's different changes and things like that. It's my favourite aspect of our music, really. And then adding in that extra little change, rather than going back to the outro, just adding in that little new section in there to emphasize the differences and to putting in another difference as well. Just I think it definitely adds to the song, and it makes it feel more complete, I think, and it brings another type of energy into the song, which if you're not expecting it, can just take you a little bit by surprise, which I always love doing, with people just putting stuff in songs that might not be expected, rather than just doing verse, chorus, solo, chorus, and yeah, it's one of my favourite songs to play now. Well, it was before, and I love it even more now with the new sections in. And trying to find, it was an interesting little challenge in that new section, trying to find interesting roles and drum parts to put in there, so that it doesn't just become repetitive and just the same stuff, but without it being like super crazy complicated or anything, because again, I wanted to keep that sort of simple rocking kind of feel to it, and I think I managed to pull it off, and I'm quite happy with my work on it, and it's gone really well. So yeah, that's sort of how I felt about the writing and how I felt about the production of the song, how we put it together. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did. See. So on the previous recording of Satanic Panic, we used my drum kit. I used my drum kit, which is a Mapex M kit in birch, and it's a brilliant kit. I love that drum kit. I've had it for many years now. It's a really versatile drum kit. It's great for what we do, especially because we tend to mix sort of groovier elements and rocking elements and metal elements and doom and sludge and all that stuff together in a great big paste, and having a versatile kit is brilliant for that. But with this recording, I really wanted to have a massive sort of powerful drum sound on it, and really focus in on having that big sound, because the drums on it are quite minimal, and then there's some big tom hits and stuff in there. I wanted to make sure we could get a really powerful drum sound, so I had the opportunity to borrow a drum kit off of my brother David, who's also a drummer, and he's got a Ludwig kit. It's one of the steel Ludwig kits, and it's absolutely massive. It's a huge monster of a drum kit. It's a kick drum, it's 24 inches, and then it's 12 and 14-inch toms and a 16-inch floor tom, and it sounds absolutely huge. And like, when I was playing the song in the studio and using this drum kit, I felt like I was beating myself up every time you hit something. There's just the sheer volume and power coming out of it, just bouncing back at you. It's just like attacking yourself with the drums. So it was a fun experience to play on, because I just felt like I was getting pummeled while I was playing. It was brilliant. So we managed to get that massive sound on this record, thanks to Kurt at Corner House Studios for helping us capture that. And it came out really well. I used mostly all of my own cymbals as well. Borrowed a ride cymbal off of Kurt, which was a Zildjian one, an old Zildjian one that I don't remember the series of, but I used mostly all of my own Stag cymbals, because I'm a big fan of Stag cymbals. I use those all the time. I've got Genghis hi-hats, a Genghis crash, and then a DH crash and a DH ride. I love their cymbals. Excellent sound you can get out of those. It's quite a dark sound that I go for, quite dark washy sound that I go for with my cymbal range, although the DH crash is a bit higher, and I can get that nice contrast between that and the Genghis crash, which works really well in this song, because there's a couple of bits where I go from one to the other, and using them together makes a nice tone. I remember when we were setting up the kit, I originally put my ride cymbal on there and started warming up with it, and Kurt was like, "It's really dark sounding, this cymbal, isn't it?" And I just went, "Yeah," because that's what I want. But he knew that his Zildjian got a great sound, and it would record really well and stuff and suit the song, so trusted him on that one, and we took that one. It came out really well. It gets a lot of use on the track as a big crashy cymbal, so it worked out really well, and the sound for the drum kit was just fantastic. For the snare, I used one of Kurt's. He had a Ludwig snare that sat really well with the kit as well, a big fat Ludwig snare drum that went really well with that drum kit. So we got a great sound thanks to Ludwig on this track and Stag cymbals. But yeah, I'll still be using my Mapex kit for most stuff in the future, because it's just a brilliant drum kit. I like the sound of it, and I love how I can get different stuff out of it. But yeah, I use a Mapex kick pedal, Falcon, which doesn't get a lot of use in this track because it's a double kick pedal. Some little flourishes in there, but there's no like thrash metal speeding along on the kick drum on this one. But yeah, it was a great recording experience. I really liked it. Just like I say, just getting the sheer power of that drum kit when you try to play it was pretty immense. I think it came through on the record quite well.